everybody, welcome to the first Lily episode of Cooking with Lily and Generoso. Today we're going to make bun with something that's a little bit different than Thit Nuong, so that's how you can normally get it at any restaurant. When I was a kid, I really liked eating bun with Ga Xao, and that's basically chicken with lemongrass, which is traditionally Ga Xao Xa Ot. So essentially it's chicken stir-fried with jalapenos and lemongrass and fish sauce, which is always delicious, but in this house we really like pork! Yes! And so we're going to make it with pork today, and I'm going to kind of modify it a little bit, because one of the things that I never really liked about the chicken version with the actual jalapenos is I never really liked the jalapenos in it. Mostly because I think it kind of breaks up the flavors too much, and then when you bite into the jalapeno piece, it just takes over the whole flavor profile. So we're going to vary it up a little bit, and we're going to use some red pepper powder instead, and so that we kind of have a little bit more of a consistent texture. But let's look at the ingredients today. So there are a lot. I'm going to give you guys a warning. So we have 6 limes. This is going to be for the actual fish sauce to put on top of the bun. We have a shallot. We have a lot of cloves of garlic, probably like about 10. We have a little chunk of ginger, that's going to be for the marinade. We have a little juice squeezer for the lime, that's also going to be for the fish sauce. We have a new friend in the Fiero kitchen. Woo! Woo! This is a mandolin, and we're going to use it to shred up carrots and cucumbers. Because when you get bun in a restaurant, some of the best part is the fact that the vegetables that it's served with are really, really finely sliced, and it is almost like the same texture as the bun itself, but it's flavored completely differently. Then we have a whisk, and we have giant cooking chopsticks. We have a serrated knife. That's going to be specifically useful for our lemongrass, because that is not a nice thing to cut. We have a big bowl that we're going to use to marinate our pork in. And now we have all of the fresh ingredients. So I have a head of red lettuce here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carrots. These are already peeled. We have 3 Persian cucumbers. You can use regular cucumbers too. We have Persian cucumbers because we are now in LA. And I have probably about 3 tablespoons of cilantro. That's also going to be just kind of for the bun itself. All of these ingredients aren't actually going to get cooked. Keep that in mind. These are going to stay nice and raw and fresh, because that's kind of the great thing about any bun dish. You get a mix of the noodle with some really fresh vegetables and a really tasty meat. So we have 2 giant stalks of lemongrass. I'll show you guys how to prep that. We've done this before. Basically what we're going to do is remove a lot of these dry leaves on the outside and cut off the end, and then very, very finely cut it. We might even use the food processor today to help us. We have 1 pack of vermicelli. This is Vietnamese bun. Make sure that you don't get siphon. Make sure that you don't get bean thread by any accident. Bun is like, it's rice and water essentially. So make sure that you go with that, and that it's not banh pho either, which is flat. We have 1 giant frying pan. We have the pork. Today we have some bone-in pork chops. You can use really any cut of pork that you want. I would say pork chops in general are better. So you could use boneless or bone-in, either way. We're going to cut it all into chunks, so it doesn't really matter. Now we have our sauces. We have soy sauce. We have Korean fine red pepper powder. This is what we're going to use instead of jalapenos. And we have some black pepper. We have our handy-dandy friend, the fish sauce. We have some oyster sauce, and we have some olive oil. And so, now we're going to start prepping things. First, we're probably going to cut up the meat, and then outside of that, I'm going to start preparing the lemongrass. So we will see you very, very everybody. So we're going to take care of the lemongrass now. So you'll notice with the lemongrass that on the outside, they're going to be these really dry pieces. You want to peel those off. So I'm going to peel all of this off. You'll notice that pulling apart lemongrass is almost like dealing with a tree branch. That's fine. It's going to be a little bit unwieldy, but that's okay.
I should say, though, as someone who was foreign to this ingredient prior to meeting you, I never handled lemongrass. It almost feels like kind of a wet bamboo.
A little bit. A little bit. It's, again, it's not the nicest thing to handle. It's very sharp, so you should be a little bit careful as well. And it's quite dirty as well. So as you start peeling the layers off, feel free to keep giving it more of a rinse and scraping it on the outside as well. Because it's a little bit of a dirty stalk. And the best way I've found to cut it is using a serrated knife. So in this case, we want to cut off this end where you see that it's been pulled out of the ground. You just want to use a serrated knife and kind of saw at it a little bit.
Otherwise, I find it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, like cutting through bamboo.
Yeah, and only the serrated knife really works. I've tried it with even a chef's knife, and it's not so nice either. So I'm going to peel probably one more layer off, just so that you start getting this really beautiful flesh right here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take these dry stalks at the top off. You don't want to use any of the dry stalks in cooking the lemongrass, because they kind of mess up the texture a little bit. And when you notice and you cut inside, you'll see that it's fibrous, but there's still, it's soft to a certain extent. It's a little bit tender, which is a good thing. So we'll do the same for the next one, and then I'm going to very, very finely cut this up, and we'll see you very shortly. Two things have been done while we have not been filming. Gene has cut up all of the meat.
Look at it.
So he's cut them up into some pretty fine chunks. They're, you can get them paper thin if you want. We're gonna do like kind of thinner chunks today, just because that was the type of meat we have. Again, it is all up to you when it comes to that exact cut. We are now going to make a lemongrass ginger almost pesto. So what I did is I very finely cut up the lemongrass as best as I could with my knife. It's really hard, and so I put it in the bottom of the food processor. Then I sliced the ginger into kind of strips, and then I put cloves of garlic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put some oil. And what this is going to do is just very, very nicely mince the lemongrass and the garlic and the ginger all together, and it'll be delicious. Let's check it and see how it's doing. It's looking pretty good, but it could use a little bit more blending. So I'm going to just take my giant chopsticks, scrape down the sides. And give it a little bit more of a whirl. Going to scrape down again. And we'll keep on processing this until this is pretty finely chopped, and I'll show you that in a moment. We'll see you soon. So our ginger, lemongrass, and garlic mix has been pretty finely minced. What I'm going to do is now take the little processor handle out. And then there's a giant chunk of lemongrass stuck to that, so we're not going to put that in our marinade. Scrape that off, and then just use your hands and scrape out all of this nice puree. Alrighty. And at this point, I'm going to put in the pork. And then toss the pork in all the lemongrass so that it's very evenly coating each piece. It should give off a really nice, intense flavor. Alrighty. Now I'm going to very quickly rinse my hands off before I open up all the bottles. That's mostly because otherwise you will get lemongrass all over your sauce bottles. Now we will take fish sauce and probably give it about 2 tablespoons. So it's pretty generous. There we go. And now we're going to do about a tablespoon of soy sauce, just for salt. And also a little bit of color. And then a very liberal amount of black pepper. Probably about 1.5 teaspoons. And now we're going to get red pepper flake. Or I guess really this is Korean fine red pepper. And let's do about 2 teaspoons of it, so that it's nice and hot. There we go. And then just a teaspoon of oyster sauce. Dunk. I'm going to grab my hands again and just mix this all together.
Despite the fish sauce, it has a beautiful odor.
It's very intense. But that's okay.
It is.
Alright, and so I'm just going to flatten that out. And we're going to let this sit and marinate as we prepare all of the other parts of this dish, and we will see you very shortly. We have done a couple of things. Our meat is still marinating. I sliced up, or I guess I minced up all the shallot. We're going to keep that aside. We're not really going to use it until we actually fry up our meat. Gina squeezed all of our limes, and that's what we're going to be using to make the nuoc mam that we always make. And so the nuoc mam is as to like recap, I think we've made it 3 times now so
I think
far.
so.
It's equal parts lime juice to equal parts water to equal parts sugar, and equal parts fish sauce itself. So we are going to make that in a little bit. But in the meantime, while we're letting everything marinate, we are going to use our new toy in the house, the mandolin. So I'm using the fine blade on this one. You can use any of the others. There's a medium and there's large. I like very finely shaved vegetables with my bun. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our carrot. We're going to run it. Use the handle at the end. And just very lightly begin to shave your carrot.
And what kind of consistency do we get out of the carrots after they've been shaved?
I will show you in a moment.
Please do.
So you're going to have to rotate the carrot a bit as you shave. It's going to get thin. And you get super fine carrots. Almost like the same thickness as the bun itself. And so we're going to do that for all of our carrots, and we're also going to do the same for our cucumber too. So we will see you very shortly. Hi everybody, so we've done a lot of prep work for quite some time. So I have shredded up the red lettuce. I have peeled off the leaves of the cilantro. We've shredded up the carrots. We've shredded up cucumbers as well. And I've made the fish sauce, which is again 1 part lime juice to 1 part water to 1 part sugar to 1 part fish sauce. And now it is time to fry our meat. So I have a big pan here. We're going to turn it on high.
Hi.
I'm going to put oil all around the bottom.
Yeah.
Very generously coat the bottom of the pan in oil.
There's a lot of pig we gotta cook.
Yes, we have to cook a lot of pig. Bene.
Wait for the oil to heat up a bit, I guess.
Yes.
Now again, you know, I always look at this dish as being a very basic dish when I go to a Vietnamese restaurant, but I had absolutely no idea the amount of prep work it takes to put into this. A lot of fine chopping and mincing, but it's a satisfying dish, and I think it's worth all the grief.
It is. It's very good. It's just a little bit of a pain in the butt to like get everything together, but one of the good things is that a lot of the vegetable prep you can do ahead of time, which is the kind of the big thing. So you could probably wash your lettuce and clean it and slice it the night before if you needed to. Same with the carrots. Cucumbers I'd probably wait to slice until the day of. And same with the cilantro. And now we are going to put the shallots into the bottom of the pan.
Very good.
As this oil is heating up. And then let that fry up for a little bit. We have our handy dandy giant cooking chopsticks to help us fry this up. And again, you can do a lot of this stuff the night before. You can marinate the meat the night before, you can prepare the vegetables. You should really, the last part of this dish is going to be the vermicelli. You should really do that the day of. Because otherwise, it sits in the fridge and then you have to microwave it and then it's not so fun. We're just going to let the shallots sweat a little bit. Sweat. It smells really nice. And I'm going to turn on the ventilation just so that the oil doesn't pop all over the kitchen. Alright, and as the shallots are starting to turn brown now, we can put in the meat.
Lily's, she has the meat.
Alright.
Actual cooking time is pretty minimal though, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's almost no cooking time. And we're going to fry this up. I'm actually, because the shallots have eaten up a lot of the oil, I'm going to add a little bit more oil. Just to give each of the meat a nice touch. And as this is frying, I'm going to add a little bit more of our powdered red pepper. I do not want the poor side, I want the sick side. Alright. And we're going to keep on letting this fry until the outside's a nice golden brown. And we will see you very shortly. Hey everybody, so we have finished frying up our pork.
It is delicious. She let me sample it.
I also put a little bit of pepper just to top it off at the end. And we also boiled our vermicelli. Remember, the key to boiling any Vietnamese-based rice noodle, diligence. It is not a noodle that like you can put on the pot and just run away from. You have to constantly stir it and you constantly have to taste it and make sure it doesn't overcook, because if it overcooks, it is a disaster.
It tastes like paste.
And you'll actually have to throw it away. So now we are going to prepare our bowl. So the way that you always do this is you want to take some of the vermicelli, the bowl. My hands are clean. I promise.
I know they are. I saw you.
I wash them very diligently as I cook.
She's into the diligence today. It is a meticulous dish. I've been watching her. I did a little bit of prep, but the amount of prep that goes into this is pretty elaborate. And she washes her hands between every step. My wife is clean.
I am clean. Yes. Alright, so we got some bone down.
Excellent.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to get some of the veggies. So I have a little veggie station. So we put some carrots right there. Some cucumbers. A little bit more. And now a little bit of lettuce. I normally like a little bit more lettuce in general, just because I think it breaks up the textures really nicely. And then some meat. And when you're scooping in the meat, you want to make sure to get some of the lemongrass on it as well. Alright, and now, oh yes, that's right. Jean is reminding me very nicely off of the camera. I forgot to add in the cilantro. So I'm going to just put a little sprig of cilantro right there. You can always add more if you like the flavor. I personally like it, so put a little dot right there. And that is Bun Thit Xao. So that is basically vermicelli with pork and lemongrass. And remember, you will top all of this off with the fish sauce. So enjoy, it's a perfect summer dish.